Grab a cup of tea or a glass of wine and tune in for Inspired Conversations with publisher Linda Joy. On Tuesdays at 2 p.m. Eastern, Linda creates sacred space for leading female luminaries, empowering authors, heart-centered female entrepreneurs, coaches, and healers. A soulful venue where guests openly share the fears and obstacles they've overcome, wisdom and lessons learned, and the personal journey that led them to the transformational work they do in the world. Inspired Conversations to empower you on your path to authentic, soulful living.
Welcome to Inspired Conversations. I'm your host, Linda Joy, publisher of Aspire Magazine, the premier inspirational magazine for women since 2006. I'm also the 8-time best-selling publisher behind the boutique publishing company InspiredLivingPublishing.com, which is dedicated to giving visionary female entrepreneurs, coaches, healers, and health practitioners a voice and a high-profile media and publishing platform to share their wisdom, enhance their expert status, and bring their brand out of the shadows. Stop by InspiredLivingPublishing.com today to learn how you can be part of one of our upcoming sacred anthologies, and for details on publishing your inspirational or personal development book with us. All of my brands, including this show, are dedicated to inspiring you to live your best life. Now I'm curious, are you being called to step into your truth and embrace your true divinity? Do you feel as if you're being suffocated by the old scripts and stories that have defined your life to date? I've been there. I know what that feels like. Well, guess what? It is time to release the blocks that have been holding you back. And so you can start intentionally aligning your heart and soul, which will enable you to live an authentic life and become a divine magnet for love and abundance. Joining me today is leading intuitive prosperity coach, Akashic Records practitioner, and Evidential medium Jami Hearn, who empowers and supports spiritual women in aligning their inner and outer worlds, embracing their soul's truth, and in living their divinity. Through her intuitive gifts, grounded wisdom, and empowered coaching, Jami guides women back into sacred alignment with their truth. And as a woman aligns her heart and soul, she becomes a divine magnet for love and abundance, and her dreams flow with ease and grace. Jami knows this feeling all too well, having gone from a highly successful yet unfulfilling career as an attorney to creating a thriving international spiritual coaching practice. Jami understands firsthand how to help you navigate the path of integration between the masculine and feminine and support you in doing the same so that you can live your truth. Welcome, beautiful.
Thanks for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
I always love our conversations because your story, Jami, which we're going to dive into more in a moment, your story really epitomizes a woman who said, I'm done of feeling like a stranger in my own life. And when you and I first virtually met and I got to hear your story and hear the passion that you live your life with now, I realized that I was there at one time and that many women listening today and many women in our shared community may be there at this very moment, right? Feeling as if they're a stranger in their own lives. So if you don't mind, take us back to that time in your life when you're a successful attorney, but you were unhappy, you weren't fulfilled, and the brave choices you made just changed that.
Well, I was practicing law. I had just left a mid-sized firm, and I had started my own practice, which was a refreshing change, but it didn't accomplish what I was seeking to accomplish. I thought that the 9 to 5, which in actuality is about 6 to 7, 6 a.m. to 7 p.m., are not abnormal hours, that I had to be at the office when I was working for a firm. But I thought that the structure of working at a law firm was the piece that was not really creating the fulfillment that I wanted. So I decided to start my own practice. And much to my dismay, it was even worse in my own practice because all of the responsibility of what each client needed fell to me, whether that need was in alignment with my own actions and my own desires or not. One example, people call an attorney to complain, and no one is ever really experiencing joy. So that really went against my grain and who I was at a soul level. So I had a hard time reconciling that. So about 10 years ago, I decided that I needed to make a change. And the changes that I put in motion at that time were really kind of small. I decided to add more of a spiritual element to my everyday. And while I had always been a medium and had a very strong connection with spirit, I never really utilized it before. It was just kind of there and fun to talk about with my friends, but I never used it to improve my own circumstance. And that was a big step for me to make the choice to utilize those talents and connections that I enjoyed to really move my life in the direction that I wanted to. So like I said, at first they were small steps that I took. And as the steps got a little more brave and a little more bold, they have enabled me to evolve into what my friends like to refer to as the medium attorney.
Well, I love it. I want to say that's the type of attorney you are, estate planning. So you are always working with loss and grief and people passing over.
Yes.
And when you first told me that and I realized you were a medium, I'm like, oh, come on. There's no, tell me that's not a divine, contract.
Right. There are no coincidences.
No. So as you took those baby steps, was it still scary? Because I know there's women on listening in right now who are like, but they think it's going to magically change. No, it starts by taking baby steps and having the courage
Absolutely.
to do that.
And yes, they were scary. The initial steps were probably more scary than some of the larger steps that I have taken farther down my path, because there's a lot of social and career level influence on professional women, and they are expected to fulfill the masculine form and strive for goals and have everything in order in a perfectly wrapped little package with a fancy little pink bow. And it doesn't always come like that. So it's very scary to take that first step. And I'll share with you, one of the first steps that I took was mentoring with a woman who was a shaman and had a psychic TV show. So I would go to the show and I would sit in the audience and be wrapped in what message she had for me that week. She came from the same heritage as my dad, so I really had a very strong connection with her. And one week, I got to the show all ready to go, and the woman who assisted her on camera came down with a stomach bug. And she said, Jami, I need you. I need you to be on camera with me and answer the calls and do all the things that her assistant did. And I was like, you want me to be on TV? Like, there are a million people who are going to see this. And it was broadcast all over the Northeast. It was broadcast in Canada, and then it was even translated and broadcast in France.
Whoa. So talk about being divinely led to step into your truth and purpose. It was like, okay, you're not taking enough baby steps, so we're going to push you.
Yes, sometimes you do need that little shove.
And what unfolded after that? Did that moment help you see that it wasn't as frightening as you thought once you did it?
Well, sitting in front of the camera in the moment was overwhelming. But once it was out there and I started to get a little bit of positive feedback from my other friends in this circle, it was uplifting and reassuring. And I'm not going to say that I got no negative feedback, because I did have some people say, hey, saw you on that show the other night. And I needed to craft my response to people who looked at it as though it was inappropriate or not the right thing that meshed with who I was as a lawyer. So it took me a little while to really feel comfortable with my answer to those people. And today, my answer to those people is, this is who I am. These are the tools with which I serve you as an attorney, as a medium, as a coach. So if we're not a good fit, that's luck in finding someone who's a better fit.
I love that, because it's just like any of us in business. We get to the point, especially when we're at the place where you and I are, is I just want to live authentically. I want to live in joy. Joy is actually one of my guiding principles. If it feels good, I do it. You got to the point where you just said, I can't hide the essence of who I am. It's like almost like cutting off a part of yourself to exist in your job. And you came to the point, it sounds like, where you said, enough is enough. And at that same time, having the trust to know you will still be supported in your business. Because I think I know in the past I've gone to fear-based thinking, like, well, if I do that and say I don't want to work with them and they're not a match, then, I'll lose business. I believe and have found, and I'm curious if you have, Jami, that when we show up authentically, don't hide any aspect of ourselves, those we are meant to serve find us easier, and our business thrives.
That is absolutely. However, I had that fear of lack too, that, I need to conform to what this client needs or thinks they need so I can keep the client. And I have realized exactly what you said, that by releasing a client who's not a good fit, I have opened up an expanse to bring in more clients who are perfect fits. And that works across all of my practices, my coaching practice, my law practice. It manifests in both sides beautifully.
And it's one of the greatest lessons that I've learned, in business. But as a spiritual leader, right? It's okay to be afraid, right? Anyone that tells you that they've gone through major transformations and didn't feel fear isn't being honest with themselves, never mind you, because it's a human emotion, it's a human feeling that comes up when we're going through it. But like you, I've discovered that the moment I took off all the masks many years ago, I've been on this journey for a long time, and I've been an entrepreneur since '92 with various businesses, this business and this circle of businesses for about 11 years. I realized that, you know what, if I'm doing things, whether it's a client contract or the work I'm doing, doesn't matter what the it is, if I am not feeling joy when I am doing it, that means I'm out of alignment with my truth. So that has become my guidepost, right? Does this bring me joy? Does this bring me in alignment with joy, or does it bring me further away? And there's only two answers to that. And that's how I make every decision of what clients I want to work with, what projects I want to birth. And is that what you feel inside as your measurement tool too? To say it's like a flow. I can't describe it. I use joy, but what word would you use?
I would use fulfillment.
Ooh, yes. I'll write that one. It's a sense of feeling like this is what I'm meant to do.
Yeah, and there are things in my law practice that are necessary components that aren't exactly in alignment with who I am and what I want to do. But I have done a good job paring those back so they're minimal. And I continue to endeavor to completely eliminate them. We're all a work in process. So I don't expect to have all of everything work the way that I design it at first. But I continue to evolve in both of my practices.
And I want to talk about that more when we come back in a moment. And I want to talk about what it feels like, because I think there's a lot of business owners. I believe there's a lot of business owners on this show. And you just said something. You said there's still things in my business I have to do that maybe aren't in alignment. And I want to talk about that and maybe toss some ideas that I've used to help me let go of some of those things. And we'll be back in a moment with Jami Hearn of liveyourdivinity.com.
A conscious lifestyle for a mindful life. OMTimes Radio. IOM FM.
Inspiration for a woman's soul. Aspire Magazine, inspiring and supporting women on the path of self-discovery. Claim your free digital subscription today, which includes access to thousands of dollars of personal development bonus gifts from Team Inspiration partners. Claim your Aspire Magazine subscription today at subscribetoaspire.com.
Are you trying to get from point A to point B and need a little advice? Connect with the counselors at OMTimes Advisors. Whether you're looking for a life coach or a spiritual intuitive, the advisors participating at advisors.omtimes.com were carefully chosen based on their gifts, skills, and professionalism. OMTimes Advisors, connecting you with the best advisors in the business.
Do you have time to read that inspiring book or that blog post you've been meaning to get to? In your busy world, how do you improve yourself and keep your life going? I'm Lisa Kay, and my Between Heaven and Earth radio show can transform your life just by listening. Be uplifted with inspiring topics, positive stories, and ideas that really work. Between Heaven and Earth radio is conscious living for your soul, every Wednesday at 4 p.m. Eastern Time.
Hey, America, we need to have a little talk. We've got more food than we know what to do with in this country, yet 17 million kids in America are struggling with hunger. Makes no sense. Luckily, the Feeding America nationwide network of food banks has volunteers gathering excess food and getting it to hungry kids. They're kind of like food angels. Hey, become a food angel yourself by supporting Feeding America in your local food bank at feedingamerica.org. We can't do it without your help. Brought to you by Feeding America and the Ad Council.
This is OTR-FM, part of the IOM Radio Network.
You're listening to Inspired Conversations. I am your host, Linda Joy, and with me today is Jami Hearn of liveyourdivinity.com. Right before the break, Jami said something. She said, there's still things I do in my practice and in my business that, really don't feel good. I don't like doing them, but basically we have to do them. And that's where, my business. I have a lot of brands. One of the things I've struggled with, and I'm curious if you have too, Jami, and I don't know if it's our circle, is about delegating, right? I used to think, I can't let that go. I don't have the time to let that go. I mean, some cases, no one can do it like I can do it, right? And then
Yes.
Something shifted about 2 years ago, which, this is so funny, it coincides when all my businesses went through the roof, is I realized, wait a minute, when I delegate, I am giving a project that does not bring me joy, or an item or a to-do, whatever it may be, a task, that doesn't bring me joy, but fills the other person, the contractor, the VA, the supportive team member, with such joy because it's their joy spot. And when we hold on to things that don't bring us joy, we're actually stopping someone else from making a livelihood doing the things that we don't like doing. That was a major pivot point for me because I love to be of service. So now I'm like, oh, she likes doing that stuff? And have you struggled with that too? Do you struggle with letting go? I know your career is different because there's some things you may not be able to let go of because you're an attorney. But did you struggle with that? I'm curious about letting go.
Yes, I did. And that is one of the things that I personally have been working on. It took finding just the right fit for my staff to really enable me to comfortably delegate these things. And now I have started to add some additional support in my coaching practice. And I found a girl who gets so excited over video work. And to me, I'm like, what's the URL for YouTube? So it's just not really my brilliance. And she's so excited about it. I'm like, awesome. You just tell me when to start talking and we're good to go.
Yeah, so you're spreading abundance by letting go of what you aren't good at to give it to someone who's joyful and passionate about it, which means that the energy and intent of when it's birthed to the world is going to be pure. That was my big insight a couple of years ago. And don't get me wrong, I still struggle. What is on my goal list this year for 2017? I keep delegate right in front of me because my old tendencies are still there, right? Because it's part of who I am. And I ask my team to call me out on it. So, like example, if I'm doing something, Nicole, who you know, will say, Lynn, is that really something that you should be doing? And I go, see, if she asked her that question that I gave her to lead me, I go, oh, no, I shouldn't be, but it became such a habit. Right. So as you stepped into this role of embracing your feminine truth, bringing spirituality into your practice, and you came out, I like to see, you and I both use the term spiritual broom closet, right?
Yes.
When you came out and you birthed the Live Your Divinity brand and let people know what you do, I mean, I've seen the buzz. I mean, just one of your articles on just the Aspire blog, I think, is up close to 60 or was it 90 shares. I'm like, something has hit a nerve here, right? So when you stepped out and revealed, how did it feel?
Empowering. And scary as anything. Many of you have read about me, I anticipate, and know that I practice law in a very small town. Our town is less than a mile from side to side, and there are probably about 3,000 people in the town, 20,000 in the entire county.
Whoa.
Now, it's a small town, and everyone knows everyone and knows all about everyone. So when I embraced and announced who I am, all components of who I am, it was like doing so in the town square because it was that quick to spread. I am super fortunate to have a close-knit pocket of other spiritual women entrepreneurs in our town, however. So I have a lot of support and embrace the connections that I have with them. Now, the majority of them have other businesses outside of their spiritual practice also. Two of them are realtors. One owns a flower shop, and one owns a gift shop. So there's a lot of professional connection too. And they, like I, enjoyed successful professional careers, but just were missing a piece. So many women, even a lot of people in general, men and women, that I went to law school with, enjoy really successful, high-salaried careers and are just unhappy. They can't find their joy in what they're doing every day. And some of them have made dramatic career changes and completely abandoned what they spent the last 15 years doing and building. I applaud them for making the choice to really find where their joy is. I am fortunate enough to be able to craft my own professional career as an attorney around the practice that I find fulfilling, but still that itself is not enough to fulfill me. I crave the spiritual connection that I have with my coaching clients and constructing a fulfilling business and lifestyle around the feminine principles of spirituality. Sometimes that is an addition to their professional careers, and sometimes it completely replaces them. But every client's different.
Well, what's most important, I think, is for all of us, I mean, I believe personally that we're all here, that we were all put here with unique spiritual gifts, right? And that
yes,
each of us are meant to do the inner work along our life's path to unwrap those gifts, right? And not keep them to ourselves, to share them. And when I first started believing that and really stepping into it, I'm like, so that means every person who continues to play small, who continues to not embrace their joy, is really affecting the world, their community in the world, because there's something missing that no other soul can or will be able to serve the world with, because everyone has their own unique gifts. Have you come to believe that too in the work that you're doing?
Yes, and one of the most inspiring things that I do is to help women flesh out and really embrace what their gifts are. A lot of women get sucked into social expectations or family expectations, and they don't want to embrace the individuality that they each bring. But once we really bring that forth and they have a little bit of time to sit with it and recognize how aligned that is with who they are at soul level, it's just a beautiful experience and gift.
And so healing, right? It's like healing this core part of ourselves. And once that part of ourselves is healed, it's almost like everything opens up, right? Like the lotus coming out of the mud, it just bursts open.
Yeah.
And I noticed things started to flow. People came into my life. The more I became aligned with my true self, others that were aligned with their true self, we came together. It was just so organic, including this community that I serve and the authors and clients. So when we come back from break, I want to talk about how important community is when you're on the spiritual path. And we'll be back in a moment with Jami Hearn of liveyourdivinity.com.
Free your mind. Expand your soul. OMTimes Radio. IOM FM.
Are you being called to step into your truth and embrace your divinity? Are you ready to align your heart and soul, live an authentic life, and become a divine magnet for love and abundance? It's time to listen to your inner wisdom and clear the blocks holding you back from your best life. Leading intuitive prosperity coach, Akashic Records practitioner, and evidential medium Jami Hearn of liveyourdivinity.com empowers and supports spiritual women like you to align your inner and outer worlds, embrace your soul's truth, and live your divinity Through her intuitive gifts, grounded wisdom, and empowered coaching, Jami guides women back into sacred alignment with their truth. Visit liveyourdivinity.com to learn more about Jami's empowering programs and to schedule an Akashic record reading.
OMTimes Magazine is one of the leading online content providers of positivity, wellness, and personal empowerment. A philanthropic organization, their net proceeds are funneled to support worldwide charity initiatives via Humanity Healing International. Through their commitment to creating community and providing conscious content, they aspire to uplift humanity on a global scale. OMTimes, co-creating a more conscious lifestyle.
Hi everyone, this is Shay Parker, the host of Best of the Best, which airs live right here on IOM Radio every Tuesday night at 8 p.m. Eastern and 5 p.m. Pacific. I'm super excited to bring you expert guest hosts, spiritual discussions, free psychic readings, and so much more. I can promise that you will not want to miss this one-of-a-kind, fun, yet touching, down-to-earth show. Join us every Tuesday night at 8 p.m. Eastern, 9 p.m. Pacific on OTRFM. This is Shay Parker, and I can't wait to see you there.
The number one reason girls drop out of school in sub-Saharan Africa is lack of access to feminine hygiene products. The Pads for Schoolgirls Project, an outreach of Humanity Healing International, is changing this paradigm by setting up sewing programs at schools, teaching girls a vocational skill, while producing the reusable pads that help keep them attending classes. The girls pay it forward by making and giving pad kits to other girls in need. To learn more, visit humanityhealing.org. Humanity Healing is where your heart is. Free your mind. Expand your soul. OMTimes Radio. IOM FM.
Welcome back to Inspired Conversations. I'm your host, Linda Joy, and with me today is Jami Hearn of liveyourdivinity.com. And Jami, in the earlier portion of the show, you mentioned that even in a very small community, and I'm talking, wow, yours is really small, you've been able to find this core circle of other spiritual entrepreneurs, right? They may all be in different fields than you, but has that played an important role of you feeling more confident and courageous to come out?
Yes, it has. And not all of my support and community is right here in my everyday life. I have an amazing coach that I work with from Florida.
I love her.
She's something. She's remarkable. Who has been instrumental in giving me the courage and tools I need to fully embrace who I am authentically. But the people that I interact with in person on a daily basis also have enabled me to have that courage. I recently had a wonderful conversation with a girl who is from my hometown, and she had moved to Anchorage, Alaska more than 20 years ago. But now her parents are aging, and she feels like she's being called to come home. And she and I met for coffee, and she said, I don't know if I can come home because everybody here is so closed-minded, and they look at me funny. And you need to come home and feel the energy that fills our community now, because they won't look at you funny anymore. She works with flower essences, and she runs a naturopathic apothecary, which I'm just fascinated with. I think it's fantastic. So I introduced her to this pocket of women here in our town, and that comfort enabled her to relocate 4,500 miles from Alaska back to our hometown and open her own apothecary here.
Oh, I love it. And that's what this is about, right? It's about you were courageous enough to live your truth. She now felt that vibe, that energy, and the community that is now created in your community. And it gave her permission to be courageous, right? Because again, fear is always going to come up, excuses are always going to come up. But that's what I love about what we do for a living is by us showing up authentically and being courageous, we give others permission to do the same. And that creates a ripple that affects so many more lives than we can ever think of in the moment.
Yes.
And one of the other
wonderful.
things, too, is we both have online businesses. Well, the spiritual part, I'm in publishing have Live Your Divinity. I have deep, intimate friendships and relationships in this virtual community with women I have never met. And I know that's the case for you, too, Jami. It's this depth of I want to hang and surround myself with women who get it, right? Women who are ready to be vulnerable and authentic and real and say, listen, I'm struggling with this right now. Can you support me? And suddenly you're surrounded by love. Have you found that as one of your support circles too?
Absolutely. And the vulnerability is important because when you show yourself and show your vulnerability, I have been granted so much support by this community. It's a wonderful group of women who are supportive and work together. I think in the masculine model, at least in law firms where I come from, women are encouraged to be ultra competitive because we have something to prove.
Mm-hmm.
And
exactly.
That's not the case in our spiritual community. No one is competing with me, even if they do the exact same thing I do. There are 7 billion people in the world, and by virtue of someone supporting me and me doing the same thing they do, they themselves garner use from that. I find that any situation that I help someone else through is something that I needed too. Even if it's kind of an insignificant little healing piece, but it becomes significant when I look at it through the lens of how I can improve myself because of it and what I offer my clients too.
Oh, it's so true. And I think, as you know from working and with my brand and the stories you've published with my company, all of our books are about one thing. It's an authentic storytelling model, but it touches exactly what you just shared about being vulnerable, being real, being truthful. And the stories I publish are I chose to go this route because I believe this at my soul, that when a woman shares her truth with vulnerability and authenticity, it touches this deep soul need in another woman and validates what they're feeling, because we've lived so closed off for so long, right? And when you read someone's story and you go, wow, she experienced that, whatever that is, and if she can do that and come out the other side still with joy in her heart, still with a passion for life, then maybe I can too, right? And that's what this community I've found does. It's like everyone shows up so real, vulnerable, and supportive of each other, which then creates this ripple and allows other women to keep stepping out. I don't know, I just keep seeing it over and over. More and more women are like, well, look what Jami did. She was a lawyer and she did this. Then my dream's not so out of reach. My desire to be more authentic is doable. That inspires me. That touches me.
And I am happy to be the inspiration to women to step out of the masculine, unfulfilling day-to-day, because every one of them, everyone who feels called deserves to find that fulfilling joy. even if they keep their day-to-day job and they add something, some spiritual component that enables them to go within and find that fulfillment and purpose and joy every day.
Yeah, and that's what we're all here meant to do. And something you said earlier too is about, I think things shifted like 20 years ago, and women started having to fit in to jobs. More and more women entered the workforce, and they had to fit into jobs that had that masculine energy. And I believe that many women lost touch, and I was one of them, with our core truth, which is the feminine, right? And we want both aspects of that, but we lost the connection. And we got into the doing mode, the competitive mode, and all this. And I think what we're witnessing happen is women just circling back to the truth of who we always were and who we are at our core.
I completely agree. I myself forced myself to fit that competitive masculine. I was a Division I college athlete. I had to be competitive. And it was not even reinforced, it was ingrained into you to be competitive and to have the position that I could play with the boys and I could beat the boys. The reality was that I was going to do it whether I really could or not, because I thought I needed to be that competitive. And it was a long process for me to realize that I didn't need to be that competitive. I needed to, for myself, to be more supportive and more embracing and not competitive to the point of excluding people from my life.
Exactly. It's that's another big word in our community is inclusive, right? Accepting and loving everyone. For me, I think it's when you're on this path, sometimes you feel different. I don't know if especially when you first started, right? It was like you're trying to shed this old part of you, and the people around you at that time are like, what is she doing? And you need this place to not feel different. And, now I embrace my differences, but I'm going back 20 years. I didn't do things in life or business like a lot of other people did. And
right.
When I first became an entrepreneur, I didn't have the language that I have now, but I see that I wanted to do business in the feminine. But I didn't use that language then, right? It was just how I wanted to show up. And and that was so different. I was in a retail environment, had a retail store for 11 years. And I wanted to include the other business owners and do all these. And other business owners in my industry were like, oh, what are you trying to do, get our clients? Or what are you trying to do? We don't want to do a show with you. And I'm like I couldn't even think. That was foreign thinking to me. Now, of course, like you, I can use the words to describe what that was. But I couldn't describe it then. It just left me feeling different. Right? So having these communities in your life, whether virtual or in the physical, are so important to be able to live your truth and step out. So we're going to talk about that more when we come back. We'll be back in a moment with Jami Hearn of liveyourdivinity.com.
A conscious lifestyle for a mindful life. OMTimes Radio. IOM FM.
Beautiful one, if you're living your life by default and feeling disempowered, disconnected, and disenchanted, it's time to tap into your goddess power and use that divine energy to create the magical life of your dreams. As part of the Goddess Lifestyle Alchemy program, Creatrix Lisa Marie Rosati guides you through the 12 aspects of your life while tapping into the archetypes, the 4 elements, the divine, and practical magic. By connecting to the divine and working with universal laws, your life suddenly shifts from going through the motions and struggles to seeing divine love and purpose in all aspects of your life. If you're ready to design your magical life, visit Lisa at goddesslifestyleplan.com for an abundance of supportive resources.
This is Terry Van Horn, and I want to invite you to join me for my weekly radio show, Hailing Light, on OMTimes Radio, every Wednesday at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. On Hailing Light, we want to bring love, light, and blessings into your world. You can find out more about us at www.healinglightonline.com. Blessings.
A conscious lifestyle for a mindful life. OMTimes Radio. IOM FM.
Welcome back to Inspired Conversations. I'm your host, Linda Joy, and with me today is Jami Hearn, and we're talking about living a fulfilled life, one where you feel aligned, your heart and soul feel aligned, that you're not walking between two worlds, right? And wearing masks. That's how I used to describe it. So wearing a mask when I'm in one group of people or in one circumstance, and then going, oh yeah, for this I have to behave this way. At 54 years old, I've been so done with that for so long, and I have to tell you, it's when I found my joy. It's also when success came to me, because those were meant to serve could find me. So let's talk about that, Jami. Talk about sense stepping out and making the choice, the internal shift of, I want to work with law clients who accept all of me. And I know it's still new. You're new on that path of saying, no, I need to embrace just those clients. Are there any tips you can share with someone that's going through that right now? Like someone who knows they want to make changes and be brave and step out authentically, but they're afraid.
Small steps is the best advice I can offer. And sometimes you will get that push that you can't resist and you know it's time. The very first law client that I ever gave a message to was this lovely woman. She came in to talk about her mom and dad. They were getting elderly and they needed some estate planning done. And a local firefighter had been recently killed responding to an emergency call. And they were friendly. I didn't really know. I just knew that they were friendly. So he was extremely persistent in his energy when she came into my office. So we talked about her legal stuff, and then I said to her, I don't usually do this, but I need to tell you, I have a message from Tommy. And she said, she spun around in her chair and she said, I knew you were okay when I saw that Lily Dale cup.
Oh my God. And how did you know she was the first one that you could share? It was just you had to do it, or did you know? Was it intuitive knowing?
I did not know how it was going to be received, but his persistence forced me to share with her, because my typical experience with spirit is only overwhelmingly persistent when there's something that must be conveyed. So that happens irregularly. Typically, it's more subtle. I get message, and if I'm in the situation where I'm doing a reading, it's a strong message, but I don't normally have someone just show up like in the movie Ghost, where people just start showing up at Whoopi's house. That's not my experience. It's typically very intentional and structured for me. So when it's not, I know that there's something that I need to pay attention to. And that was the circumstance that day.
It was like, you are going to share this message. Now, since then, you're more comfortable. You're more comfortable sharing it, or it's a case-by-case basis?
It's really a case-by-case situation. Typically, I try to keep the two at least message from spirit, I try to keep separate. But sometimes I'll have people come in to talk about their wills, and that conversation just evolves into where they're at and how discontent they are, and they just don't know what the next step is going to be. So I take all of those opportunities to offer a little bit of, I feel like it's my obligation to do so. They're coming to me for a will, but they're a whole person. So if I can offer them a holistic support for the legal need and the spiritual need, I would be doing them a disservice if I didn't provide that to them.
I believe that. I believe that that's why you've been called into this spiritual aspect and called to merge it into with the other. You're right. I believe that we have to be of service in the way that we were blessed with our gifts. And you were blessed this way.
I don't necessarily tell a client, okay, I'm going to switch hats and start talking to you about spirituality. I'm a little more subtle than that. So sometimes clients leave and don't even realize where the conversation turns, which that's fine with me. Other clients are a little more attuned. One client, she's a lovely girl. I helped her and her husband purchase a rehab house, the one that they were going to renovate and sell. And she came in one day to sign some papers and started sharing with me how stressful things were at home. And she confided that she feels like she's not being a good wife and she's not being a good mother, and she just really doesn't know where things are going. So we had a conversation. And at the end of the conversation, she said to me, so what's my homework? And I was thrilled that she was willing to embrace this task of finding her fulfillment and jump right in. So I sent her on her way with some homework, and she reports back once a week.
See what I mean? But if you had held back, you wouldn't be able to serve her, which is what she needs at this point in her life.
Exactly.
I use the word soul giggles a lot. It's when I get these little, I don't know, just this fun feeling inside, knowing that when I'm showing up in my full self, and things like that happen, I call it like signs from the divine. If you had held back, she wouldn't have the information she needs for that next path. And that's so true with every single one of us, right? We all have gifts that we're meant to share. And I say if we hoard them, then there's people that are missing out on what only we can guide or serve them with. So in our last few minutes, is there a step or a tip that you feel led to share if someone is struggling right now with this whole, I guess you can call it a dilemma of how to live more authentically?
A very simple first step is to identify what brings you happiness and journal about it. If you can come up with 27 things that make you happy or 3 things that make you happy, it doesn't matter. But take each of those topics and spend some time brainstorming and journaling. And after you have a few of the topics journaled out, you're going to start to see a theme. And maybe that theme is the direction you need to start heading in to find true fulfillment and joy.
I love that, because if we don't listen, if we don't go inward, we are not going to get those answers, because I believe it's in being still that it comes.
Yes.
I want to thank you, Jami, as always, for being here today, for sharing your wisdom, and for being courageous in your own life, right, to show up authentically. I'm so honored that you're part of my community, have shared your wisdom in my books, because you inspire me. It's what I want. The changes and transformation, and I'm not talking about life, I'm not talking about success, I'm not talking about business, I'm talking about the internal transformation that you've gone through and are continuing to go through is what I wish for every woman, right? To show up feeling fulfilled, feeling aligned, feeling joyful, because I believe that's what we're all here to feel. We just got to do the hard work and to get there, because it's not always easy, and we always are going to have the fears, but we do it anyway. So thank you, my beautiful friend.
Well, thank you, and thank you for all of your support along the way.
You're welcome. I want to invite everyone to visit Jami at liveyourdivinity.com to learn more about her programs, her services, claim her free gift that is so supportive and helping you live an authentic life. And I want to thank you for joining me for Inspired Conversations today. Listen in every Tuesday at 2 p.m. Eastern for more sacred conversations with visionary women just like Jami, who are here to share their feminine wisdom and their story to support you in living your best life. For even more inspiration, I invite you to claim your free subscription to Aspire magazine, which includes over 40 transformational gifts. You can get that at subscribe-to-aspire.com. Until next time, choose love, choose joy, and choose happiness. Blessings, everyone.
Thanks for listening to Inspired Conversations with publisher Linda Joy. Join our sacred space every Tuesday at 2 p.m. Eastern and meet leading female visionaries, empowering authors, heart-centered female entrepreneurs, coaches, and healers. Inspired Conversations with Linda Joy is a soulful venue where guests share the obstacles they've overcome, along with wisdom and lessons learned on their personal journey that led them to the transformational work they do in the world. Inspired Conversations to empower you on your path to authentic and soulful living.